Hey folks, I want to talk to you about this application Readeo. I strongly recommend Readeo to help grandparents and parents read to their grandchildren remotely when they can't be in the same room. Whether you're living across the country, across the world, or you're just gone on a business trip, Readeo makes it easy for you to read to those young ones when you're away. It's a super easy tool that allows for video monitoring across the top of the screen so they can see you and you can see them, as well as having the book prominently displayed, making it easy for you to read to those young ones, or better yet, having them read to you. What I want you guys to do is go to cool-grandpa.us, look for the affiliate link for Readeo, click on that link, and sign up today for your free trial. Hello, and welcome to the Cool Grandpa Podcast. This is your host, Greg Payne, coming at you from Studio 12. This podcast is about being the best possible grandpa you can be, focusing on what it is to be a grandpa and how we can all share that experience together for our grandchildren. Hey, I hope you're enjoying your day because we've got an awesome conversation with Gramps Jeffrey. Now, Gramps Jeffrey has got 4 kids and 6 grandkids. Some of those grandkids live close to him. Some of them live across the country. We're also going to talk to Gramps about writing children's books. Now, Gramps has a couple of children's books out, and we're going to dive into those, what the inspiration was for writing those books. We're also going to be talking about just grandpa stuff. You guys are going to love listening into this conversation because Gramps Jeffrey has an awful lot to offer and a lot of insights about this role of being a grandfather. So without further ado, let's jump into our conversation with Gramps Jeffrey. Hi, Gramps. Welcome to the Cool Grandpa Podcast. This is a great honor to have you here with us.
Oh, great. I appreciate you inviting me. This will be fun.
Yeah, I always enjoy talking to other grandfathers about activities and hobbies and interests and everything that they've got going on. Now, you've got a book that is pretty new right now called I Don't Want to Turn 3. What was the impetus for writing this book?
That's an interesting question because, living in the past year because of this pandemic that was caused by COVID-19 and isolation, except with being with the family, gave me a special time to watch and interact with my grandkids. I'll tell you, what a trip to really see who they are and what they do. All 6 kids have completely different personalities. The one thing they have in common is a sense of curiosity and how excited they get when they do accomplish something new. So watching them grow year to year and how they interact with each other really is the basis for this book. It's kind of, what goes through a toddler's mind that parents so desperately, try to understand. When does a toddler understand the difference between me and us? So this book kind of explores how a family finds this whole journey together. As a baby boomer, trying to understand how the world has evolved since I was 3 years old. And it's also part of this story of grandpas versus what the kids are today. When you think about it, my parents didn't have cell phones. They didn't have the internet. They didn't have remotes, or what I call clickers. They didn't have cable TV. In fact, when I think about it, when I was a little kid, I was the remote. My dad would say, "Go change the channel," and so I became the remote. But our whole generation went through that. My parents' definition of discipline is quite different than the parents of today. I mean, you can see that. Has today's world made for a better place for children to grow up in? That's something that I'll let everybody in the audience and us ourselves kind of answer that question. How are you treated growing up compared to how we treat our kids today? So in a sense, I wrote this book for my grandkids. The reaction really has been invaluable to me. As you watch them understand Jordan's discovery of right versus wrong, you can see that the older kids have gone through the same dilemma And the younger kids don't quite yet understand the concept of sharing. This whole process of going through, writing the book, this has been just priceless for me.
Oh, absolutely. I bet it has been, from being able to, as you said, step back from even the time when you were a parent with your children, right? Is having that distance now as we're older and grandfathers to be able to look at how those children are interacting, because we're not as concerned as with the immediate, hey, Jordan, give that fire truck back to your brother. The immediate consequences of the noise, let's say, between he took my truck or he took this or whatnot, versus being able to stand back and say, okay, what's really going on here? Well, how is Jordan exploring, and how is he viewing the world? As you said, moving a little bit more from everything's about me and what I want and what I can get my hands on as a 2-year-old, to now thinking about maybe other people's feelings and this idea of property and what belongs and how do we share and how do we get along in a bigger family unit.
Yeah, you kind of think, at what age do you really begin to take responsibility? Is it 3 years old? Is it 13 years old? Is it 23 years old? It may not be until 63, and we're grandfathers, that could be us. We finally took responsibility. But what's interesting is, as you watch how the parents handle the kids today, I don't know how it was when you were growing up, but I was scared to death of my dad. I mean, it was either his way or the highway. My brother Larry and he would chase us around the house with his belt if we didn't agree.
Oh, yep.
He had this fraternity paddle that he kept. We knew it was there. He kept it in his closet. In fact, there was one late fall day when the leaves were piled up in the yard, and my brother and I said, we got to get rid of this paddle. So we took the paddle. They were gone. We took the paddle out of his closet. We buried it under the leaves. It snowed a couple days later, and lo and behold, that spring, it was gone. It was, to me, that was a miracle. It was, that's the way it is. But that was discipline back then, and you can kind of see a little bit different discipline in today's world.
Oh, absolutely. I think I can definitely remember. My father never struck us with his belt, but his intimidation was to double it over, make a loop, and then snap it on itself. And just that idea, and just hearing the cracking of that belt snapping on itself was enough to terrify this 7-year-old to hurry up and brush his teeth and get into bed.
Yeah, and that was then, and today is different. And I don't think the parents of today are that crazy as our parents were, but they're getting the results. Kids, I can tell you, I really think the kids today are much smarter than we ever were, and I think it just comes through evolution. So that's why it was so interesting to explore these little kids as they're growing and how they interact with each other, because you can see I think they're much smarter than we ever were.
Yeah, and it's interesting too, because I had been thinking about that question in terms of kids being smarter, and I think as they become more adept at using the technology that's coming at them at such a fast pace, though, we also lose a little bit of what we had in previous generations. And what I mean is, if you were to take me, for example, drop me into the 1820s, there's things that I don't know where everybody would be looking at me like I'm a fool. Because, you don't know how to churn your own butter. You don't know how to, fall a tree and scrape the bark and make it, these things where that was just part of life. And I think it's the kids are able to adapt to that technology faster, but then maybe we're also losing a little bit with the social interactions.
Well, that is the reason why it's so important today, why grandparents and parents have got to continue reading to their kids. Because you're right, they're on the iPads too many hours a day. Because when you think about it, what are the benefits of reading to your kid? Because you don't want to lose touch there. Because you're right, electronically will get done, will be thrown out. But reading to your kids really is a great bonding moment. In other words, it's a good time to spend together. It really helps you take away the TV and the electronics, and it gives you a chance to really spend time to have the same experiences together. Another reason why you have to read to your kids is because it supports listening skills. In today's world, as you and I well know, the people that get ahead are the ones that listen, the ones that can understand and absorb. And so reading to your kids kind of just focuses them and requires them to listen. It helps develop, especially in the early stages, the cognitive and language developments. Reading books to kids help expand the variety and the number of words and sounds and experiences that they have. And the one thing, and again, this is something we all got to be careful of, is it helps with the attention span. It creates some kind of discipline that the kids know that every night they're going to be reading a book. It's going to take so long, but it creates that attention span. So you're right. We can't give up the reading books for the iPads. It's got to be a combination of both. But I think if you put the two together, the kids are getting smarter.
Oh, absolutely. I think that's the case. And, along with that too, it's valuable, I think, with reading to be able to help them, as your book was pointing out, learn about the world outside of themselves. And it's that natural progression and about everything's about me. I mean, when kids are first born, it is all about them. We've got to feed them. We've got to change them. We've got to, everything's about them. But then as they start to get older and they start to interact at nursery school or at different places, they start to learn about that wider world. And those books come into play at that point because they're starting to learn concepts about sharing, about not taking toys from either brothers and sisters or friends. And so I think grandparents can definitely play a role in being active in reading to their grandkids.
Oh yeah, when you think about when you actually have the time to read and spend time with your grandkids, before you even read the book, you should ask them, what do you think will happen in this book? Get them involved quickly. Not just don't use it as an exercise. Get them involved. So, ask them, here's this book. Here's the title. What do you think is going to happen? And then while you're reading the book, you want to kind of ask them again, follow up. Who are the characters? What are they doing? Where's the setting? What's going on here? To get that interaction so that they can continue to think through the reading as a fun exercise. As they're doing the reading and during the reading, does anything in the book sound familiar to you? Have you ever experienced this? Have you seen any of your friends do these kinds of things? And then when you're done with a book, just kind of look at the kids and say, what was your favorite part? Well, why did you like that kind of book? And that kind of engagement is just going to help kids get stronger and better outside of the electronics of what they're dealing with.
I like the idea too of slowing the process down, because I've done this, and I'll guarantee other grandfathers and grandparents have done this, where sometimes we're just sitting down and reading the book to read the book and for entertainment. And that's not a bad thing. But to your point, when we slow it down a little bit and we start asking them open-ended questions where they have to think about what's going on, and if they start seeing a character in the book that's feeling sad, why is so-and-so feeling sad? And getting them to explain what that behavior was that caused the character to feel sad, I think just reinforces a little bit more of, I don't know if values is the right word, but a philosophy of life, even at a very young age and at an appropriate level for them.
Yeah, it became very clear to me just in the last couple of days that the reason that the young kids have children instead of us old guys having children is they wear us out. I've been babysitting for a couple of my grandkids the last couple of days, and I mean, I couldn't wait till they went to take their naps so I could take a nap. It's intense. Because you got to watch them, you got to be on top of them, you got to make sure that they're doing everything right. But then they have that energy. So, and luckily for us, we weren't on the iPad too much the last couple of days. I mean, so we had all kinds of experiences, but it is exhausting. So I can understand. But it's great being a grandparent because we're gonna give them back tonight. And then we can rest up and wait for the next time. So there's a reason why young kids have it instead of us.
Oh, absolutely. I think definitely between the energy levels and the joints and the backs, because I love getting down and wrestling around with my 3-year-old grandson. But at certain points, these office jobs we tend to have, or just the age with the aches and pains in the joints, can definitely make us happy that the nap time comes up, or an early bedtime comes in to rescue us.
Yeah, you kind of stand back and you say, as a grandparent, what can I really instill into my kids? What kind of values can I have? In this particular book that I wrote, the values were to help those that are underprivileged, and think beyond who you are and help others. I think that's the role of grandparents is to help give the overall picture of where the direction where they're going to go. I don't think we can be the disciplinarians. I'm seeing the difference right now. Last couple of days, my wife is tough. I mean, she treats those kids like if they don't get in line, you don't get what they want. They gotta eat breakfast before they watch television, to cartoons in the morning. It was up to me. Let's watch TV and have breakfast together and do it all one time. So it's there's a point where grandparents can get involved, but there's a point where we need to step back and let the parents do it too.
I think the best combination is when the parents and grandparents are very open in the communication about things such as discipline and diet and values and the activities that the kids are involved in, so that we complement each other. We've got mom and dad can take care of, I don't know, lack of a better word, all the tactical day-to-day stuff. And then grandpas can come in and do a little bit of spoiling and then do a little bit of guiding, like you were suggesting. We can be there to whisper things and ask questions because we don't have to deal with them on a day-to-day basis.
Oh, it's much more fun to teach them how to kick a ball and throw a ball and hit something. It's just much more fun to do that. And so, I think we've earned it. We've gone through a couple of generations here of raising, time. We're earned to be the good guys.
Oh, absolutely. And, it's a pleasure too, to be able to be to a point in our lives where we can give back to those grandkids and we can feed back into them the guidance and some of the lessons that we've learned. Part of getting older is to have these experiences. We've got bumps and bruises from experience. And so we can share with them, and maybe they can avoid some of that, or maybe we can help coach them through some of the challenging experiences that they have.
Well, the real question is, were we able to do that for our kids? Did we give them the right morals and objectives, or did we overlook that? It's going to skip a generation. Maybe we can help the next generation.
I think too is that because we're younger, we don't have the same perspective. If I was to become a father at my age, I'm 51 now, the way I would raise children now would be different. And the advice that I would give children now would be different compared to what I was able to give to my children in my 30s and 40s. Part of that is just the experience and the tread on the tire, so to speak, that I've accumulated.
Yeah, I'm with you on that.
What are some of the other activities that you enjoy doing with the grandkids?
One of the things, and it drives me absolutely, I don't understand this, but these boys, I've got four boys and 2 girls. These boys are in love with dinosaurs. And I don't remember having that love when I was a kid. And I don't remember my kids having that love. So something has happened over the last couple of generations that these kids, they're into dinosaurs. So one of the things that we did, I've got 2 of my kids are here with us in Arizona, 2 are in Austin, Texas, and 2 are in Florida, with 6 grandkids. So during the pandemic, I didn't really have a chance to see everybody in Texas or or Florida. In fact, one of them was born. I didn't get a chance to see him for 7 months. But what's interesting is they all have this love of dinosaurs. And so I kind of figured, how can I do this to keep in touch with the kids that are not living with me? And so we started to have a program where we would take these dinosaurs and put them at different places around the house, and then they would be doing something. So for instance, we had the dinosaurs inside the refrigerator eating blueberries. We had the dinosaurs at the where we do the dishes. They had the suds on their nose, and they were helping the grandma do dishes. We had them helping them with doing the laundry. We had them climbing the steps. We had them playing the piano. So we had 50 different nights of dinosaurs participating in doing something around the house during the pandemic. And what happened was, it really got cute. These 2, 3, and 4-year-old kids would call up every night to find out, what are the dinosaurs doing tonight? And they would say, and it helped with my bonding because it was the Gramps who was doing it. So they'd always ask, they wouldn't ask for my wife when they call up with Facebook, on FaceTime. They'd ask, where's Gramps? Where's Gramps? And then they said, what are the dinosaurs doing tonight? And so it really became a bonding thing for myself and the kids who I didn't have the time to spend as much time as I had the ones here in town to do with, for them. And they called every night. It was like clockwork. We could count on them, right before they were going to bed. Let's call Gramps, find out what the dinosaurs are doing. That happened to be my way to be able to keep in touch with my kids during the pandemic. I'm sure other grandparents had other ways, but you got to kind of tap into something that'll catch them. And it really was a lot of fun because I was running out of ideas. What kind of dinosaurs do? They were helping paint the house. They were helping clean the yard. The 50 different things around the house is what they did. And so that was kind of my way of keeping in touch. And today, you can feel that it really helped me become closer with these kids.
Oh, that's great. And I think you hit on something that was super important where, as grandfathers, we don't necessarily have to understand what the grandkids are into. We just need to be willing to jump in and accept it and go with it, because the next generation, let's say the next trend could be robots again or something else. And to your point, some of it is, when we grew up, our toys were different and what we were into was different. But for grandfathers to embrace what the grandkids are into and become excited about it, become involved, and then look for ways where grandfathers and grandkids can share that experience and share that interest together, because we've got ways where we can make that a fun activity and we don't have to just kind of poo-poo it and be like, well, I don't get this whole dinosaur thing, but instead you embraced it.
Oh yeah. My 6-year-old Levi, who was here this last couple of days, he's into Minecraft. I have no idea what Minecraft is, but he is so into it. I mean, he would sit down on his iPad and explain everything to me about going on this Minecraft thing, which to me, I probably couldn't understand it myself. And so it's a great exercise for him, but that's what he's into. So that's what I'm embracing right now is let's find out some more about Minecraft.
Well, and it's a fun thing too, to be able to empower the grandkids to teach us about their world, because it flips things a little bit on their head in terms of when they're going to school or they're learning their ABCs at home or whatever it is, they're the ones that are being taught. And then to be able to sit down and teach grandpa or teach grandma about something kind of makes them feel a little bit important and a little bit empowered, that they know something that grandpa doesn't know, and I'm going to teach him, and this is making me important.
Oh yeah, going back to the dinosaur examples. I mean, these kids, these 2, 3, and 4-year-old boys could name 20 different dinosaurs. I have no idea who they are or what they are. But it was like just matter of fact. I can see, they just tell me who they are and what they did and who they ate and, what they did. It's like, oh, wow. So it's a great experience that they can hook on to something and teach me. And I still can't name them.
Sure. Yeah. No, I'm in the same boat. There's the little one, there's the big one, there's the one that eats leaves off the tree, and then there's the big one that eats all the other ones.
Right.
You know,
Exactly.
that's my classification of the dinosaur family. So,
Yeah. And then the other thing that I was amazed at how they get into sea creatures. And I think that came a lot from television. Just I mean, they can name all the whales and all the dolphins and all the sharks. I mean, and again, they're teaching me, and it's a good bonding thing because, yeah, I have to seem like I'm interested. I need to know all those sharks too.
no, absolutely. Now, were the grandkids also the characters in the book that you
Yes.
had? Okay.
Yeah, they're all based. They're all the names of the grandkids. All six That's the name of my six grandkids, and it was watching them interact with each other that kind of brought this whole thing together.
Yeah, I thought that was kind of an interesting that the illustrations in here too. I think I may have heard it right. Were photographs or pictures, images that you were able to capture of the kids interacting together.
Oh yeah, the if you take a look at the front of the cover of the book, that's Levi and Jordan taking a bath together. So that's exactly where it came from. Yeah, and it's all based on things that happen in their lives.
Now, are they old enough to understand that they're in a book now? That they're
Well, what's very interesting is my oldest, she just turned 9 last week, and she understands. She really does. So, like for instance, when we had the other kids here last month, she would sit down and read it to them. But and as she was reading it to them, like for instance, the 2-year-old Grace said, "That's me, that's me," and so they understand that they're in the book. In fact, one Levi said to me last week, he says, I'm kind of out of sea creatures now. Can we rewrite the book and put it in Minecraft? And I said, no, we can't do that. So they understand. They understand.
that's awesome. Have they been able to go off and show their friends that they're famous and in print?
Yeah, I think once they go back to school, they will.
Yeah.
But this has been all summer, so but I think once they'll take it and say, "That's me, that's me."
Oh, that's awesome. Do you have any other storylines or any other books that are in the works?
Well, as these kids get older, life changes. So now I'm watching the kids, the 8 and 9-year-old, and how she reacts to her friends and what's important to her. So I think, I think every grandfather and grandmother has a storyline. If you just sit back a while and think about it, you can write a book. And these kids, they're like a show. It's you sit and you watch them laugh, and it's like you're in the middle of a show. So I'm sure everybody has a good line.
Oh yeah. Well, and I was going to ask you too, what advice you might have for either grandfathers or grandmothers that would be interested in capturing and creating their own children's book.
The first thing you want to do is step away and kind of look at the big picture, and watch it over time. As we all know, as parents and grandparents, you can't judge one day as a person. It takes time. So kind of look 3 to 6 months over time and watch your kids grow and what their interests are, because kids, they really are unique. They all have different interests, and it's amazing that they come from the same family and they're just so different. They want to do different things. So my advice is to kind of step back and watch it for a while, then put it down. Now, don't use one event to write a book. Kind of do it over time, because the kids will tell us the story. It really is. I mean, each one of these kids growing up today, they have so much thrown at them so early, and again, they're so much smarter than we ever were. That they'll tell you a story. You just got to kind of capture it.
Do you think you have to look for a theme or something with it, or are you just your advice would be to capture just something that's going on and something that's important with them?
Right, but you still have to have a beginning and an ending.
Sure.
So it's got to be around a theme or an event. whether it's a birthday party or anniversary or family get together, it's still got to be around something that kind of pulls it all together. So yeah, there's got to be a beginning and an end, because that's the way life is. It begins and it ends, and then the next chapter goes. So you're on to your next chapter as you get a little bit older.
Is there anything else about the book that I haven't asked you that you would like to talk about?
Now, I think the one thing that we all, as grandparents and parents, need to make sure the kids do is this whole nonprofit world. We have got to be in tune, when the kids go from me to us to others. We've got to make sure that the kids understand that, most of them have a pretty good life. But there are so many kids and families out there that do not have a great life. They've got to be aware of that. So I guess if there's one thing that I really want to get through in this book is that families need to help other families. We need to take care and have our kids instill into our kids that, even though your life is pretty good, there's a lot of people that need help out there. Volunteer and make sure that you are helping other people too as you go through your life. I think that's the one message I wish everybody could take from this book is, reach out to others.
Well, and I think it's important too, and you bring it out in the book, that the grandchildren should be involved in that at a very young age, being able to share older toys or share what they have when it's appropriate. And even I would even say when families do acts of service in the community is don't think that the children are too young to go with you, because even if they can't do much, seeing the activity and seeing you do these acts of service is something that's going to be instilled in them. And then they'll grow up in a little bit of a culture and know that that's a family value to give back, right?
Absolutely. Every family should do that as early as you can. The way this book ended, it was the kids who figured out how to do it, not the parents. I mean, the parents guided them, and I'm sure if the kids didn't come up with it, the parents would have told them. But once they take ownership, it was their idea to help. That goes a long way. And as they grow up into their teens and 20s, hopefully they'll just keep going and they'll keep helping, because that's what this world needs. We just need more people helping other people.
Definitely rings true. Now, as we kind of wrap things up, any advice that you would give to new grandfathers or men that are about to become grandfathers as they start in on this journey?
Don't be nervous. Don't be scared. Don't let your daughter or son intimidate you. Just be yourself. Well, you got to realize we're the elders. We've always looked at the elders. And you look at our age, a couple generations ago, people weren't around at our age. Well, we're here. So we need to give the guidance and always step back and say, what can I do to improve the world, and how can I improve my kids' understanding of the world? That's what grandfathers and grandmothers need to do. Let the parents take care of the discipline. You're not raising your kids anymore. Let the kids do all that. You give the guidance. You give the ideas of how to be a better person. You don't want to get involved with day in, day out. What are you doing right? What are you doing wrong? Let your children do that, because hopefully you taught them well to do that.
Oh yeah, that's great advice. Now, what's the best way for folks to get in contact with you? I know I'll be putting a link to the website, but what's preferred way and what's the best way to connect?
Oh, you can just go to the website, idon'twannaturn3.com, and get in touch with me there. You can buy the book on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, or at Target. So you can pick up the book at all the major online stores. They've got that. But yeah, if you want to continue this conversation, just Gramps Jeffrey at gmail.com or idon'twannaturn3.com. And I'll make sure I get back to you right away.
Yeah, no, that's perfect. And folks, I'm going to be sure to put these links in the show notes as well, so it'll be easy for you guys to get in contact with Gramps and follow up with any questions, and that you can follow also the blog that's going on the website as well, that people can watch that.
Absolutely. Great.
All right, Gramps. Well, thank you so much for being part of the Cool Grandpa podcast. I sure did enjoy talking with you this evening and wish you all the best.
Great. I had a lot of fun. Thank you.
What a cool conversation with Gramps. Man, I enjoyed this so much. I really was inspired in terms of looking at the grandkids and coming up with stories that could be molded into like a children's book, right? You know, even if it gets published and there's only a couple of dozen books made for the family and for the grandkids, I think that would be an awesome little exercise and project for grandpas. The other thing I really liked too was how they had been taking pictures of the dinosaurs for about it sounded like about a year, you know, hanging out in the refrigerator or dinosaurs in different places, that those pictures were being shared amongst the kids that were then coming up with their own little stories about what the dinosaurs were doing. I thought that was a really neat idea. Anyway, I hope you guys really enjoyed this, and be sure to check out the show notes. I've got links to Gramps Jeffrey's website. I've got links to I Don't Want to Turn 3, that book. Until next time, remember to stay cool. Thank you for listening to the Cool Grandpa Podcast. If you've enjoyed this episode, please do me a favor and share it with a friend. That's the best way you can help us to expand our community, as well as get the news out about how valuable grandpas are in the lives of those kids. If you'd like to leave me a comment or shoot me a potential topic for this podcast, please go to www.cool-grandpa.us. Look for the comments tab, fill it out, hit submit. It's as easy as that. Until next time, remember to stay cool.